The afternoon sun baked the cracked pavement of Westbrook's downtown. People hurried past, avoiding the corner where a man sat slouched against a brick wall. His clothes were torn, his hair unkempt, and a battered duffel bag rested at his side. To most, he was just another homeless man, blending into the city's forgotten corners. Officer Trent Miller didn't see him that way. From the moment he spotted the man, something in his gut tightened, not from suspicion, but from the irritation that came when he felt someone didn't belong. Adjusting his duty belt, Miller approached. "Hey, get up! You can't sit here," he barked. The man slowly raised his head, meeting the officer's gaze with calm, steady eyes. "Is there a law against sitting, officer?" That calmness annoyed Miller even more. "I'm not here to argue. Stand up, hands where I can see them." Passers-by began to slow, sensing tension in the air. The man did as told, hands raised, revealing nothing threatening, except perhaps the quiet confidence in his stance. Miller's partner, Officer Kane, stepped in. "We've had complaints," he said, though no such complaints existed. Without further warning, Kane shoved the man against the wall, frisking him roughly. "What's in the bag?" Kane demanded. "Just clothes," the man replied, but there was a faint smirk at the corner of his lips. Miller unzipped the duffel. Inside were old clothes, a notebook filled with scribbles, and, tucked carefully in a side pocket, a black leather wallet. Kane pulled it out and flipped it open. The gold badge inside gleamed in the sunlight. It read, "Federal Bureau of Investigation." The man's smirk deepened. "Now, are you sure you want to finish this arrest?" Officer Miller froze, the badge's golden shine catching the light like a warning flare. Kane blinked hard, glancing between the badge and the man they had just shoved against the wall. This is fake, right?" Kane muttered, as if saying it aloud would make it true. The man chuckled, unbothered by the fact a gun was still close to his chest. "Named Special Agent Nathan Cole. And unless you want Internal Affairs and the Department of Justice breathing down your neck, I suggest you take a deep breath and think before you keep this up." Miller's jaw tightened. "If you're FBI, why are you dressed like this?" He gestured to the ragged clothes. Cole raised an eyebrow. "Because your department has a problem, and I've been here for 3 weeks watching it in action." His tone carried the weight of someone who wasn't bluffing. People nearby had stopped pretending not to watch. Phones were out. Cameras were recording. Every second was another nail in the coffin for Miller and Kane if they made the wrong move. "Look," Miller said, trying to keep his voice steady. "We had reports of—" "No, you didn't," Cole interrupted sharply. "I've been tracking fabricated incident reports, illegal searches, and a nice little habit of targeting anyone who looks out of place." "Sound familiar?" Kane's face paled. The words hit too close to home. Cole stepped forward, closing the gap. "Here's the thing. I was planning to make arrests next week, but congratulations, you just moved up the schedule." From the end of the street, a black SUV rolled slowly toward them. The tinted windows and government plates made Kane's stomach drop. Cole glanced over his shoulder and smiled coldly. "My ride's here." The black SUV stopped with precision, its engine humming quietly. Both officers instinctively stepped back, their bravado shrinking with each passing second. The rear door swung open, and 2 figures in dark suits stepped out, sunglasses shielding their eyes, earpieces coiled at their collars. One of them, a tall woman with a commanding presence, walked straight toward Agent Cole. "Sir, are you ready?" she asked, ignoring the 2 uniformed officers entirely. Cole nodded. "Yeah. Change your plans. We're starting early." The woman's eyes finally flicked toward Miller and Kane. "Officers, you'll want to step aside." Miller's pride bristled. "Wait a minute. I don't care who you are." Cole cut him off. "You will care, Officer Miller. You're both under investigation for multiple civil rights violations, falsifying reports, and abuse of power. I've got 3 weeks' worth of evidence. Video, audio, and witness statements. And now," he gestured toward the growing crowd holding up cell phones. "You've just gifted me more." Kane swallowed hard. This is insane. We were just doing our job." Cole stepped closer, his voice low but sharp. "Your job doesn't include intimidation, unlawful detainment, or pointing a loaded weapon at a federal agent without cause. That's not policing. That's corruption." The second suited agent approached with a sleek black case. He popped it open, revealing stacks of organized files, photographs, and signed affidavits. Kane's eyes widened when he recognized faces, people they had harassed, detained, or worse. Cole took one last look at the 2 officers. "You thought I was invisible. You thought I didn't matter. Now you're going to find out exactly how wrong you were." From behind, the woman in the suit pulled out a set of stainless steel handcuffs. "Shall we?" she asked. The crowd pressed in closer, phones lifted like a wall of witnesses. Murmurs rippled through the air as the suited agents moved with quiet efficiency. The woman stepped forward, her voice calm but commanding. "Officers Miller and Kane, place your hands where I can see them." Miller's face flushed deep red. "You can't arrest us. We're the police." Cole's voice carried over the gathering noise. "You're not above the law, and right now you're suspects." Kane looked at the watching bystanders. He could see the judgment in their eyes. The hand holding his service weapon twitched, then slowly fell to his side. He unclipped his duty belt, letting it drop heavily to the pavement. Miller, however, stood frozen, his jaw clenched. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be," Cole warned. "Refusing will only add obstruction to your charges." Finally, Miller's pride gave way to the reality of the situation. He raised his hands, glaring at Cole. "This is a mistake. You're going to regret this." Cole stepped in, his tone icy. "The only thing I regret is how many people you've already hurt before I got here." The suited agent moved behind Miller, snapping the cuffs around his wrists with a metallic click. Kane was cuffed next, his shoulders sagging. Gasps spread through the crowd. It wasn't every day they saw their local cops being walked toward a black SUV instead of the station. As the agents began escorting them away, Cole addressed the bystanders. "If any of you have been victims of harassment or unlawful arrests by these officers, you'll be contacted. Justice is coming to Westbrook." For the first time, the fear shifted. It wasn't on the man in ragged clothes anymore, it was on the officers. By the time the black SUV pulled into the secure parking lot of the Westbrook Police Department, the news had already begun to spread. Phones had streamed the arrest live, and half the town had seen the video before the officers were even out of the vehicle. Inside, the station was a flurry of whispers. Officers paused mid-paperwork, dispatchers leaned out of their booths, and everyone's eyes followed as Miller and Kane were led through the front doors in handcuffs. Captain Ray Hensley stormed out of his office, his face dark with rage. "What the hell is going on here?" Cole stepped forward, now wearing a clean black FBI jacket. "What's going on, Captain, is a federal investigation into your department. 2 of your officers have just been taken into custody for civil rights violations, evidence tampering, and unlawful use of force." Hensley's voice dropped to a dangerous growl. "You can't just walk in here and—" "Oh, I can," Cole interrupted, flashing his credentials. "And I have a federal warrant to seize records, body cam footage, and personnel files. My team is already downloading your server data." As if on cue, more agents entered the station, wheeling in cases of equipment. They moved with quiet precision, plugging into terminals and photographing files. Miller snarled. "You're ruining careers." Cole's eyes locked on him. "No, you ruined them yourself." Hensley's glare could have burned holes, but beneath it was a flicker of unease. He knew if the FBI was here, they already had enough to make the charges stick. Cole turned to the agents. "Secure the evidence room. Then I want every case these 2 ever touched reviewed. Today, Westbrook's wall of silence comes down." The evidence room door creaked open under the watch of 2 armed FBI agents. Inside, shelves were stacked with boxes, bags, and files, each tagged with case numbers. But as Cole stepped in, his trained eyes immediately caught irregularities, mismatched labels, files missing chain of custody signatures, and evidence bags that looked as though they'd been opened and resealed. "Photograph everything," Cole ordered. The agents snapped pictures, logging every anomaly. In the corner, Cole spotted a dusty locker with no official tag. He pried it open, revealing a stash of confiscated cash, jewelry, and electronics, all undocumented. The discovery made his stomach tighten. This wasn't just sloppy policing, this was organized theft. Back in the bullpen, Captain Hensley's voice rose as he argued with a supervising agent. "You're making a spectacle of this department. We've kept this town safe for years." Cole emerged from the evidence room, holding a plastic bag containing a gold bracelet. "Safe? Tell that to the victims you never returned this to. I have receipts, Captain, literal receipts, showing these items were logged, then marked as lost in your system." The room went silent. Several officers shifted uncomfortably, avoiding Cole's gaze. Hensley tried to regain control. "These are isolated mistakes." Cole stepped closer, his voice low but cutting. "No, this is a culture, one that ends today." He turned to his team. "Bring in the rest of the squad. We're pulling financial records, disciplinary files, and patrol logs. Every dirty hand in this department is getting exposed." Through the glass windows, Cole could see townspeople gathering outside, drawn by the commotion. Word was spreading, and the wall protecting Westbrook's corruption was starting to crack. As Cole sifted through more files, a shadow appeared in his doorway. It was Officer Jenna Morales, young, sharp-eyed, and visibly nervous. She glanced over her shoulder before stepping inside. "Agent Cole," she whispered. "I think I can help you." Cole studied her for a moment. "You understand what that means? Once you talk, there's no going back." Jenna nodded. "I've been keeping records. Things I've seen over the past 2 years. Arrests without probable cause, body cam footage that disappeared, suspects losing their possessions in custody." She hesitated, then pulled a slim USB drive from her pocket. "I copied files from the internal server before they wiped them." Cole took the drive carefully. "You could lose your badge for this." "I'd rather lose my badge than my conscience," she replied firmly. Cole plugged the drive into his encrypted laptop. Screens filled with folder names, each one tied to a questionable arrest or complaint. But one folder made him pause: Operation Clean Sweep. Inside were memos, signed by Captain Hensley, instructing officers to target specific individuals, mostly homeless, immigrants and minorities, under the guise of keeping streets safe. "This is it," Cole murmured. "This ties him directly to the orders." Jenna's voice trembled. "There's more. They've got people in City Hall covering for them. If you want the whole picture, you need to move fast before they bury the rest." Cole closed the laptop. "Then we move tonight." Outside his office, the tension in the station was palpable. The agents were still combing through files, officers whispered in corners, and the crowd outside had doubled. Cole knew the next step would blow this investigation wide open and put a target on his back. Darkness settled over Westbrook, but the FBI's operation was only heating up. At 9:47 p.m., 3 unmarked vehicles rolled quietly through the back streets, headlights dimmed. Inside, Cole sat in the lead car, the USB drive from Officer Morales now locked in an evidence case. Their target, a privately owned storage facility on the outskirts of town, rumored to be where sensitive files and unlogged evidence were hidden from auditors. The convoy stopped short of the gate. Cole's team moved with precision, cutting through the chain without a sound. The metal gate swung open, revealing rows of dimly lit units. "Unit 47, Cole whispered into his earpiece. 2 agents advanced, their flashlights slicing through the darkness. When the door to Unit 47 rolled up, the beam of light revealed stacks of file boxes, electronics, cash bundles, and several unmarked weapons. "Bingo," an agent muttered. Cole stepped inside, scanning quickly, photograph and inventory everything before touching it. "This is our smoking gun." Suddenly, headlights swept across the lot. A pickup truck skidded to a stop. 2 men jumped out. One of them was Sergeant Dale Whitman, a known Hensley loyalist. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Whitman barked. Cole raised his badge. "Federal seizure, Sergeant." "Step back." Whitman's hand twitched toward his waistband. The other man muttered, "We need to call the captain." Cole didn't flinch. "Do it. By the time he answers, this unit will be empty, and your department's secrets will be on a federal desk." Whitman's glare could have cut glass, but he stepped back, muttering curses. Cole knew this haul would unravel the entire web. Now, all that remained was making it public before anyone could spin the narrative. By morning, Westbrook was buzzing. Rumors of the night raid had already leaked, but Cole wanted the truth told on his terms. At 10 a.m., a podium was set up outside the police department. Federal agents stood in a solid line behind him, the confiscated evidence displayed on tables, stacks of cash, boxes of files, unregistered firearms, and photographs that told stories of crimes committed by those sworn to protect. Cameras clicked. News vans idled at the curb. The crowd swelled with townspeople, some clutching homemade signs demanding justice. Cole stepped to the microphone, his voice steady but edged with steel. "For the past 3 weeks, I have been embedded in Westbrook under the guise of homelessness. What I witnessed was a department that preyed on the vulnerable, fabricated charges, and enriched itself through theft and intimidation." He held up a folder. "This is Operation Clean Sweep, a targeted campaign ordered by Captain Ray Hensley to unlawfully remove certain citizens from public spaces. These orders were carried out by multiple officers, including those arrested yesterday." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Cole continued, "Last night, we seized physical evidence from an off-site storage facility containing stolen property, unreported weapons, and documents linking this corruption to officials outside the department. Our investigation is ongoing." But arrests will continue. Reporters shouted questions. Cole answered only one. Why did you go undercover like this? He looked over the crowd, his expression hardening. Because corruption hides in plain sight, and it counts on people looking the other way. I refused to look away. Applause erupted from the back, spreading until the entire street echoed with it. But behind the cheers, Cole spotted a dark sedan idling far down the block, its tinted windows aimed straight at him. Cole's eyes locked on the dark sedan. It hadn't been there a moment ago, and something about the way it sat, engine running, windows tinted, screamed surveillance. Without breaking stride, he stepped down from the podium and murmured to Agent Harper, "We've got eyes at 10 o'clock. Tail them if they move." Harper nodded subtly, already signaling 2 other agents to fan out. Cole returned to the display tables, pretending to review evidence while keeping the sedan in his peripheral vision. The driver's silhouette was faint, but the posture was rigid, military or law enforcement trained. A moment later, the sedan rolled forward, easing into traffic. Harper and her team slipped into an unmarked SUV, following at a distance. Inside, Cole's mind raced. If this was connected to the case, it meant the rot went deeper than the department, possibly into City Hall or even the state level. That would explain how Hensley had operated so freely for so long. The crowd began to disperse, but Cole noticed a man lingering near the back, hands shoved into a hoodie pocket, watching him too intently. Their eyes met, and the man quickly turned away, disappearing into the side street. Cole exhaled slowly. "Looks like the hornet's nest is awake," he muttered to himself. His phone buzzed. A secure text from Harper. "Sedan led us to an abandoned warehouse by the river. Heavy foot traffic, multiple vehicles. Looks like a meeting spot." Cole's jaw tightened. If they were moving assets or destroying evidence, they had to act fast. He glanced back at the police station. Inside, Hensley was still in an interrogation room, but Cole knew he couldn't wait for him to crack. The real power players were already in motion. By dusk, Cole and a small tactical team were in position across from the abandoned warehouse. The river's murky water lapped quietly nearby, masking the faint hum of generators inside the building. Through binoculars, Cole counted at least 7 individuals coming and going. Some carried boxes, others had duffel bags slung over their shoulders. The license plates on the vehicles were a mix of out-of-town tags, a sure sign this wasn't just local corruption. Agent Harper crouched beside him. "We've seen at least 3 armed, no uniforms, no badges." Cole's lips pressed into a thin line. "We go in quiet. If this is what I think it is, it's the last link in the chain." The team split into 2 groups, circling the warehouse. Cole's group slipped through a side entrance, their boots silent on the dusty floor. Inside, the space opened into a dimly lit storage area, crates stacked high, some marked with city property stickers, others with serial numbers filed off. From the shadows, voices echoed, "Move it tonight before they come sniffing around," one man said. Another replied, "Relax, Hensley's got it covered. The feds won't touch this place." Cole stepped forward, weapon raised. Wrong. Chaos erupted. One suspect bolted toward the back exit, but Harper intercepted him, tackling him to the ground. 2 others froze, hands up, while another reached for a weapon, only to find himself staring down 3 laser sights. Within minutes, the warehouse was secured. Cole walked to one of the open crates and peeled back the lid. Inside were stacks of sealed evidence bags, items reported lost over the past 2 years. Cole knew this was enough to end not just Hensley, but everyone in his network. The suspects from the warehouse sat cuffed along the wall, guarded by armed agents. The air smelled of dust and stale river water, but Cole barely noticed. His attention was on the crates. Each one was a nail in the coffin for Westbrook's corruption. "Bag and tag everything," Cole ordered. "Chain of custody starts now." Agent Harper approached with a ledger pulled from a metal cabinet. "You're going to want to see this." Cole flipped it open. Inside were detailed entries, dates, amounts, names, all in Captain Hensley's handwriting. Payments were listed beside initials that matched officers' names, and further down, entries connected to city officials and even a local judge. "This is bigger than we thought," Harper said quietly. Cole's jaw tightened. "Then we take it all down. Tonight." Outside, more SUVs rolled up, headlights sweeping the lot. Federal backup arrived to transport the evidence and suspects. Cole watched as the crates were loaded, each one carrying proof of years of abuse, theft, and intimidation. He turned to one of the arrested men. "Who else knows about this place?" The man hesitated, then muttered, "Everybody who's paid into it. You'll never stop them all. Cole leaned in. Watch me. By midnight, the warehouse was empty, every last item secured in FBI custody. Cole looked out over the quiet river, the weight of the night settling in. They had the proof, the names, the network. Now the real storm was coming, the arrests that would shake Westbrook from top to bottom, and Cole planned to be right at the center of it. Morning broke with sirens, not for emergencies, but for justice. Across Westbrook, coordinated raids unfolded. Federal agents, U.S. Marshals, and state investigators moved in on homes, offices, and even City Hall. Cole stood in the command center, a temporary hub set up in a conference room at the county courthouse. A wall of monitors streamed live footage from the raids, Captain Hensley being led out of his home in handcuffs, a judge escorted from chambers, city officials shielding their faces from cameras as they were loaded into black SUVs. Reporters swarmed the streets, narrating the downfall of an entire power structure. Headlines rolled across the bottom of every news broadcast. FBI sting brings down corrupt Westbrook officials. Harper handed Cole a coffee. You just tore apart an empire. Cole shook his head. No, they did that to themselves. I just pulled off the cover. On one monitor, Miller and Kane were being transferred to federal holding. Their once cocky demeanors were gone, replaced with the hollow look of men who finally understood the weight of their actions. Evidence teams worked around the clock, cataloguing every stolen item, every falsified report. The ledger from the warehouse was already being cross-referenced with bank accounts and property records. By noon, the Justice Department released an official statement, commending the undercover operation and promising full prosecution of every guilty party. Cole stepped outside into the cool air. Townspeople had gathered, some cheering, some simply staring in disbelief. An older woman approached him quietly. My son. They said he stole something from the station, but he swore he didn't. You just proved he was telling the truth. Her voice trembled. Thank you. Cole gave a small nod. That's why we do this. The sun was setting over Westbrook, casting long shadows across streets that, for the first time in years, felt lighter. The corrupt web that had gripped the town was gone, stripped bare by weeks of undercover work and one decisive strike. Cole stood on the steps of the courthouse, watching as agents loaded the last of the evidence into transport vans. The crowd that had gathered earlier was thinning, their voices calmer now. Hopeful even. Agent Harper joined him, arms crossed. You know, you could stick around. There's talk of forming a community task force, rebuilding the department from the ground up. They'd want you to lead it. Cole gave a faint smile. Tempting. But my job was to take down the corruption, not run the cleanup. That's for the people here to own. He looked across the street and spotted Officer Jenna Morales speaking with reporters. She looked stronger now, more certain of her place. Cole knew she'd be a part of whatever came next. From his pocket he pulled the battered duffel bag, the same one he'd carried as the homeless man. Inside were only a change of clothes, a notebook, and his badge. The disguise had served its purpose. Harper raised an eyebrow. Where to next? Cole chuckled. Wherever the next rotten department thinks no one's watching. They shook hands, and Cole walked toward the waiting black SUV. As he slid inside, he glanced back at Westbrook one last time. The town still had scars, but now it had a chance to heal. The SUV pulled away, disappearing into the horizon, and somewhere out there, another department, another captain, another network of corruption had no idea the FBI's quietest weapon was already on his way. Justice didn't rest, and neither did Agent Cole.